Welcome to MILF.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Jennifer.
And we are two moms into literary freedom. Just to review. All right, you ready to do the damn thing?
Let's do the damn thing.
All right, we're back, and we're going to talk about some things that are not book related. Sometimes we do that, especially when big things happen, like Cory Booker's filibuster, which was a pretty big thing, right?
Yeah.
It technically was not a filibuster, though.
That's what I was seeing. So I didn't watch it. We got furniture yesterday, so I was busy building stuff and cleaning and doing stuff. But so I had it playing in the background, but I wasn't really listening to it. And so I would just occasionally because I was on TikTok, go in and just tapping likes or putting blue hearts in.
Right.
But
me too.
I wasn't paying attention to what was being said.
Me too. So I finally turned it on, and within seconds I was just my emotions were reacting, you just get this feeling of hope, right?
Yeah.
But then, you talk to Jennifer and she's like, yeah, but remember when he was anti-Palestine?
Yeah, I like what he's doing, right? I like that he's finally doing something. We have been asking Democrats to step up and do more. Yeah. So yes, I appreciate it. But I'm also I don't forget what you did before. And I know that he's also against or for the TikTok ban, which obviously I'm a big TikTok person. So yeah, I think it's a good start, but I got my eye on you, buddy.
Right. And I agree with you 100%. My son, who's obsessed with politics, he's been also obsessed with villains. I don't know, what's a DC villain?
Oh gosh. Megatron.
Penguins. All the Batman villains, like Mr. Freeze.
Oh, okay. Two-Faced.
Yeah, Two-Faced. Okay. Yeah. So he kind of associates Donald Trump and Elon Musk with these villains. So anytime something comes up, like Josh Wheel, the guy who unfortunately lost the special election here in Florida yesterday, he sees his signs and he's like, Mom, are you going to vote for Josh Wheel? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Josh Wheel. And he's like, oh, is he good? And I'm like,
my kids say that too. Yeah. CJ especially. He's always like, so do we like him? Is he good?
Yeah. And I'm like, what have we said about whether someone is good or bad? And he's like, well, you can be a good person who makes bad choices, or you can be a bad person who sometimes makes good choices. And so we have a lot of conversations about that. And I think Cory Booker ultimately is a good person and cares deeply about our country and the direction that it's going in, and is really what we need right now.
So. Yeah. Again, I'm still a little, because he was very okay with what happened in Palestine. So it's a little conflicting for me to look at him as a good person if he's okay with that.
Right.
But maybe he's coming to his senses.
That's a great point, and kind of where my mind is at right now, and being able to say that, and I don't, first of all, I don't even want to say that. My default answer is I don't know the guy, to my son. I don't know if because he was really interested in what a filibuster was and how he was talking for so long, and how is he not peeing his pants, all those sorts of questions. And I was just like, I don't know the answer to your question if he's good or bad. He's doing a good thing right now, right? But yeah, the Palestine thing really raises a lot of questions, and it reminds me of Bernie Sanders and AOC and their previous stances, right? And now they're kind of going in a different direction, which is good. And that's kind of the most important thing, whether you're a politician or just a regular person, is to learn from your mistakes and not dwell on them and just go forward. Once you know what is right, what is the right thing to do, you just go forward with the right thing to do. So maybe we'll see that.
Has he changed his stance on Palestine? Because I haven't really looked into it,
I did a lot of research trying to find, and I found some article that kind of discusses that. I think he was sort of voting no on resolutions that were ultimately pro-Israel or anti-Palestine, and that was in October. I kind of had the question, was he supporting money going towards defensive weapons or offensive weapons? Not that there is kind of a difference, because a defensive weapon doesn't result in killing innocent people, right? If
Right.
so, I think I was sort of looking into that, and I think maybe one of the resolutions involved offensive weapons instead of defensive weapons. But like the point is there really isn't that much information out. It's hard to find, especially in
Right.
media where it's like I don't know, everything is so overwhelming and it's just hard to dig through everything.
Yeah, I think what kind of made it like stick in my mind that I was like, wait a minute, I remember him having like a certain stance on these issues was, of course, like I said, I spent a lot of time on TikTok. It was
Hmm.
a video of a creator who's an activist, and she was confronting him at an event, you know, and she was like asking him, like, why are you doing this? Why are you supporting this? And his answer was kind of like, you guys don't have all the facts. You guys don't understand everything.
Oh yeah, I
And
think I
that like really
that.
pissed me off because I'm
Yeah.
like, what is there to understand, first of all? Like, we're
That was an excuse for
children.
that was an excuse because they didn't have anything better to say.
Right. And that I think is kind of what stuck with me that I remember the most. That I was
Mm.
like, oh, you know what? I need to remember that
Yeah.
I'm not gonna really go to bat for that guy because I used to like him a lot before that.
Yeah, because I liked him too. And when he ran for president in 2020, I remember thinking that he would have been a good candidate, even though the 2020 election was just like so crowded with Democratic candidates that he did terribly.
Right.
But yeah, it's really important to remember those things. But it sucks that we live in a political climate today where it's like the one quote good guy, I'm doing air quotes for those of you that are listening and not watching, is like has this like anti-Palestine cloud on
Right.
his head, but it's like who the fuck else do we have right now?
Yeah, no, and that's what I understand because like I had to look past that for, Harris
Mm.
because, I realized that a lot of how the
And
way that she
Obama.
voted,
Yeah.
right. So it's not things that I liked about them,
Hmm.
the things that I had to look past because it was a better option than the other option.
So you know how
So,
at the top of this episode I said we weren't going to talk about a book? We
uh-huh.
we are going to talk about a book because you just
Surprise. What book? Let me know.
totally in my plans, had it, hidden in my back pocket. No, I didn't. I'm definitely going by the seat of my, is that a thing? Flying by the
Yes.
seat of my pants? Okay, I'm flying by the seat of my pants, whatever the fuck that colloquialism means. Um, but we're gonna talk about Stamped by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X Kendi. I think that's the Stamped for Kids one, right?
Right. We did cover that one
Yeah. So
before. Yes.
let's re-talk about it because
Okay.
it reminds me of what you're saying. So we're talking about Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Cory Booker, all you know, great politicians in some regard, but have disadvantages, if you will, that we can't really forget, right? And the pro-Palestine thing is a huge thing for me. And Barack Obama and Kamala Harris have definitely, well, Barack Obama specifically has blood on his hands if you want to go down that road and talk about bombs and but anyway, let's bring it back to the book. The book talks about three things: segregationists, assimilationists, and anti-racists.
I
Okay.
remember. Yep.
And so I think this kind of ties in nicely because Cory Booker broke the filibuster record, which was previously held by Strom Thurmond, who is a hardcore segregationist,
Right.
okay? Or you could also say racist if you want. But he was a segregationist who was in 1957 spoke for 24 hours and 18 minutes against the Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
And Cory Booker breaks that record yesterday with almost 25 hours.
Yeah. I did love that part.
Yes.
I saw it was I don't know names. It was a lady. I think she had a red coat on,
Hmm.
a suit jacket, and she brought it up that he had just no, no, it was Schumer,
I
right?
hate Schumer, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was Schumer.
Yeah, yeah. And Schumer was the one, of course. Did you know, Senator Booker, that you broke the record? But and then that's when they all started clapping. I was
Yeah,
like, fuck you,
yeah,
Schumer.
yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
what I
also
saw.
happy that he broke such a, he was
And I think it was a lady in the red coat that explained what the record was. That he was a guy who was,
Mhm.
against the civil rights movement. Against
But the
me.
reason I bring up the book is because Reynolds and Kendi identify as Barack Obama and people like Booker T. Washington. um, as assimilationists. And what that is basically saying is like they're not racist, obviously, but they're not 100% anti-racist, right? And I'm not saying that Cory Booker is an assimilationist, but um, he might fit in that category because, he's not pro-Palestine.
Right.
And that's really all I can say about it because I'm not an expert by any means. I just read Stamped. That's all I did. All I did was read Stamped, and I know three
Right.
big words. That's it. But I would argue I would say that there is an argument exists to say Cory Booker might not be as anti-racist as you might think, right?
Right.
As like AOC might be at this,
Right. Right.
but AOC is even a bad example because she shared similar policies
Right.
as Cory Booker.
Yeah. It's very
Complicated.
complicated. Yeah. And like I said, I like what he did yesterday, obviously. Um, I think a lot of people are proud of him for what he did. He's going to go down
Yeah.
in the history books for what he did, and
Mhm.
I think that's great. I think it gave a lot of us hope
Mhm.
that something still can be done. But so explain to me, because I don't know much about a filibuster. All I understand is it kind of just exhausts people into
Yeah.
not getting a vote.
Yeah, I think that's what
Like people pack up and go home.
right. And so that's what Strom Thurmond was trying to do in 1957. Ultimately, he was unsuccessful, but I think the idea of a filibuster is that what you said, it delays a vote and maybe makes people go home, which is interesting because now people can vote remotely. Did you see that?
I did see that. Did you see that Mike Johnson then like
So
cleared
a
the
hasty fit?
schedule?
Yeah.
Yes. I thought that was hilarious. And I
MAGA
love,
Mikey was sad and threw a little fit, and now
yeah.
nothing's gonna get voted on this week, which is
And
stupid.
that was a bipartisan what do you call that?
Effort? I don't know. Bill?
Yes, effort.
Uh,
Bill.
not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A
Um,
Republican and a Democratic woman, both
a
of them
Republican
female.
woman. That's the
Yeah.
key there. Hmm.
She's from Florida. And
Mm.
then the Democratic woman is from Colorado, I think.
Holding her baby. Did you see that video?
Yes.
It was
She
so
voted. She brought her, it was like a week old baby, right?
9 weeks.
Days old.
9 weeks.
9 weeks?
Yeah, it's still
Oh,
pretty
okay.
young. Yeah,
She
she
looks
said
like
9 weeks.
tiny.
Yeah. I was ready for her to pull out her boob
Me
because
too.
I was like, that baby needs a boob. Like, just pull it out. But then I was
Make
like,
all these men uncomfortable because they're so uncomfortable with breastfeeding. The most
seriously, if
natural
she
thing.
had just whipped it out and shut that baby up. Not that the baby needed to be shut up, but it was, but that's just like my instinct was like, oh, give it the boob. Because I did that with my third so openly after going through it two times, not and hating the process of breastfeeding, and then finally getting to my third and being like, what the like everyone knows what a nipple looks like, like
Right.
this is not a sexual organ. This is a organ that provides nourishment. So like I seriously was all over the public places, just
Me too.
full on breastfeeding. I got stared at. I mean, I didn't care at that point. Like
Oh
three,
yeah.
3 pregnancies, you're just like you don't
I
have
would
your
stare like,
body.
are you looking at me? And my kids, right? My older girls would be standing there like little bodyguards, like,
Hmm.
yeah, say something to my mom.
Yeah. That is so cute. I love that. Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, that would have made that video so much, not that it wasn't already awesome, but it's also something that's like unnecessary. It doesn't even, it shouldn't even be a conversation. It should
Right.
be obvious, but I'm glad that it worked out. But what I was saying about that is, as a filibuster is like, I guess you have to be there to vote. So if you're not there, you don't vote, right? And then
Right.
that they achieve their goal. But this wasn't a filibuster because he wasn't delaying the vote of anything. He was just doing it because enough is enough, and apparently wearing pink shirts and holding up little paddles like you're going to bid on a tea set at an auction, which is what we've seen in the past. Um,
Right.
the past 72 days of this terror of a regime, this was a way more effective form of protest, even though it technically wasn't a real filibuster. And so what I mean by wearing the pink shirts are, you remember when they all wore pink shirts,
Mhm.
right?
It was that like his State of the Union type
Yeah, it wasn't
speech or
even a State of the
something.
Union. It was similar to that though.
Yeah.
So that was criticized because I think if not all, 99% white women. And so that was criticized as performative white feminism. Or you could even call it performative activism. You don't even have to, it's just performative is what it is. Because it doesn't do anything, you know.
Right. Now, let me ask this because this is what, so this filibuster, quote unquote,
Mhm.
what does that one do? Like, how is it different?
So the only difference is there wasn't a vote that Booker was delaying.
Mhm.
If he was delaying a vote, it would have been a filibuster. That's it.
Okay.
So
But I'm saying, how is it different than what the women did? Because I'm not
the
saying
women.
that what he did wasn't like amazing, but like, what will it change?
That's a great question. I from what I've seen and read of, sort of like reading about other people's like thoughts and opinions on it, but also my own personal thoughts and opinions are that he was at least talking about things that a lot of people don't even know are happening, right? Whereas wearing a pink shirt isn't going to tell you that Donald Trump has a meme coin that is worth billions of dollars, and we don't even know where this he's getting like the financial backing for this weird fucking cryptocurrency coin that
Right.
doesn't make any sense. It could be from China. It could be from, we don't know. And so I didn't know shit about that until Cory Booker starts talking about it in his 25-hour
Okay.
speech, And so I think that's one reason that it's different from just wearing a pink shirt. And another reason I think is it just inspires people. When he talks so much about, you know, if you're not angry, you don't love your country enough, right? It kind of reminds us like, you know, all the good things about America and like what's wrong, and if we're not mad, then we're not paying attention. And so I think there's definitely an element of hope to it. My friend Camille actually says it a lot better than I do. And I asked if I could share this, so I can read a little bit about what she wrote, and then that might
Okay.
kind of help you understand like where all the other people who were so excited about this are coming from. So she says, my favorite part is the way Corey and his colleagues are speaking to each other throughout it all. If you didn't know, in order to keep his spot on the floor. Okay, so this is actually funny because it's about how to like properly do a filibuster. And this also goes hand in hand with like reminding people to treat each other with kindness and respect, and like getting back to that, which is something that we're kind of far away from, I believe, at this time in our country's history. So she goes on to say, if you didn't know, in order to keep his spot on the floor, Senator Booker is only allowed to yield to questions while retaining the floor. That's why you may have heard him say, I yield to your question, but I still retain the floor, right?
Mm.
His fellow Democratic senators who are sticking with him are making it a priority to ask him very lengthy questions in order to give him moments of respite during his marathon speech. To be clear, they are asking genuinely hard-hitting and incredibly relevant questions. They're just taking their time while doing it. The best part, though, is that each time they request Booker to yield for a question, Booker refuses at first. And when he did this, I was like, what's happening? Like, I didn't,
Right.
right? And then takes a few minutes to share about his political and personal relationship or experiences with said questioner. He thanks them for their very hard work, citing examples of what they've done to benefit this country. Once he's done that, he'll yield for the question, and the asker will use the first portion of their time responding in kind, speaking highly of Booker's integrity, compassion, and dedication to our nation. And then they'll ask like a very long question. So they're
Okay.
utilizing every opportunity to humanize each other and pointing out their very best qualities. And it isn't just blowing smoke up each other's asses either. It's genuine. The positivity, respect, and obvious love being demonstrated between these public servants feels like a buoy in the dark sea of corruption that we're currently facing. It's brought tears to my eyes more than once. I'm about to cry. I cry at everything though. I even cry at Publix commercials, which I hate Publix. I love Publix, but I have a love-hate relationship with Publix. But do they ever get you, those Publix
They
commercials?
have their Thanksgiving ones always
Yes.
get me.
And
They're really good.
Apple products get me too. And you don't know it's an Apple commercial till the end, and they show you the Apple logo.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if I've seen an Apple
Oh
one.
yeah, Apple products. It's all about
Yeah.
family and like growing up. Anyway, back to the email.
Take a
Um,
breath. It's okay. We take a moment.
In the past, the longest filibusters used to hold the floor and delay votes have been executed a little differently. Oh, and then she goes to talk about Strom Thurmond, which we discussed already. Also, Texas Senator Ted Cruz gave a 21-hour Senate speech in an effort to hold up a federal budget bill and thereby defund the Affordable Care Act in 2013. He infamously used the time on the floor to read Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss,
I've
all to
heard of
keep
that.
poor people from accessing health care. Neither of those grandstands worked in the end. And this is the end of the email. I've been raised my entire life to fight with hope, empathy, and positivity. And not just from my parents, but also from every major pop culture battle of good versus evil. The message has been clear and consistent. Hate, selfish greed, and negativity are the tools of the bad guys. It is truly as simple as that. While there's still plenty of reasons to feel helpless right now, watching the good guys fight evil while still taking the time to use the right tools, hope, empathy, and positivity, is an uplifting message. And a reminder that while beating the bad guys is very important, it's also important how you beat them. And that's the end of her, speech. But that's a very important point, is he's also, to answer your question, I feel like we're in our own filibuster.
Right.
To give you a very long answer to your question, it's a form of peaceful protest, and it's modeling peaceful protest for other people, or politicians who can do this as well. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I understand it did bring hope, right? And I did understand that because like I said, I didn't really watch it. I caught like snippets of it, but not enough to really figure out what was going on. I do understand that he was reading like letters from constituents and their situations and bringing to light like their complaints on a public platform, which I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I could see the positives in that.
Yeah.
Did he take any questions from Republicans?
I don't know the answer to that. I would imagine in 25 hours that there had to have been at least an independent. you know,
Right.
I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
he could have been like no to that one and like just left it at no.
I don't
I'm
think
not
he
going to
would have.
take your question.
Right. I think if a Republican did, he would have said yes,
Right.
and use it as an opportunity to bring awareness to some of the issues that are happening. Which, going back to Camille Jones's speech, and another important thing that kind of goes with what you're saying is like how he's bringing awareness to things like he talked about, like at the very end, he talked about how funding for Alzheimer's is now cut, and the Department of Education cuts, and the immigration, that the disappearing of people, which isn't something that we see on the news enough, in my opinion. I think actually CNN did start to cover it because I go to the gym. I think I'm going to stop going to the gym, but they have all these TVs, and there's Fox and then there's CNN, and they're like right next to each other. But I was there yesterday, and they were talking about the disappearance of people.
Well,
Which
they just admitted, the Trump administration just admitted to deporting someone with no legal, no criminal history,
they said they made a mistake, but that they
that it
can't.
was a mistake,
Yep.
and they sent him to El Salvador, right? To
Mhm.
that high end or whatever prison.
It's
Um,
a detention
it's a
camp.
yeah,
Prison
basically.
camp. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it was a mistake, but there's nothing we can do about it. The
Yeah.
fuck do you mean there's nothing you can do about it? Bring that
And
man back home.
and that's why, this 25-hour filibuster, you can imagine he didn't really he run out of things to say because there were so many things to say.
Right.
In the 72 days.
I feel like he could have gone on longer.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure, I'm not saying he needed to, but I'm saying he had enough material to go on
Yes,
longer.
exactly. That's what I was saying too. Yeah. But yeah, this is all to say that we need to see more of this, and less of, as Stephen Colbert joked in his show, I don't know, it was several weeks ago. Um, the Democrats came ready to fight back with their little paddles. This is how you save democracy, by quietly dissenting or bidding on an antique tea set.
I
It was
saw
hard
that.
to tell what was going on. So, which I
A
just thought
little.
was so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that went over like a fart in church,
Right.
which is a funny saying that I've never used before, but here I am. Whereas Cory Booker's former protest was clearly much more impactful.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, maybe we'll see him, submit a bid for the 2028 presidential election. This is not the first stunt, if you will, that he's pulled. He camped in a tent once. I think it was 2016 or I don't remember, but to protest like the dismal living conditions in I think it was in the state that he was representing. Uh, but like he's done stuff like this before,
Okay.
like bring awareness to like issues like
Right.
unaffordable housing.
All
Un
right.
Is that
Like I
unaffordable?
said, I'm not sold on him 100% yet. I like what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Am I ready to see him on a ticket? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure. I need to see where he stands because I almost felt honestly like he had sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm a little like I hold grudges
Mm-hmm.
and I still kind of feel like is he doing this to save face from what he, like the backlash that he got for that? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
not. Like I said, he's got good qualities too.
If
It's
you
not
and if you go watch
I
like
need more.
go watch like the really powerful clips and
Yeah.
you won't be able to help but feel hopeful. And the way that he's so passionate about our country and making it better, um,
Yeah.
it does seem really genuine. It doesn't really seem like a political stunt. Um, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see him kind of do a 180 like AOC and Bernie Sanders and kind of join them in their policy
Yeah.
camp.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like I need to see that come from him.
Hmm.
Maybe he brought it up during
Oh yeah,
the speech. I don't know,
yeah. I'm sure in the
Um,
next few days, like a lot of articles will come out with more information about like what he said and like what it
right.
means and like because people love
The
to read.
cliff notes of the
Yeah,
25 hours.
it's not. I mean, I think it's too soon. Like
Yeah.
I'll probably do some research on that next week just to see if he said anything about that. And there's just so much information. It's
Yeah.
hard to pick one thing to focus on. Like let's transition now into the special elections. Unless you want to, if you have anything else to say about
No, no,
Maricopa.
that's I'm good.
Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't
good.
watch it, so like there's not a lot that I can contribute here
Right.
because what I watch is, very little of it.
I mean,
So
I hear you. I was working all day yesterday, so I only tuned in for like 5 minutes, or no, for like the last hour I tuned in, and
okay.
much to my family's chagrin, they were like, "What is this?" But I did get the older two to to be interested in it because I was like, "This is history in the making."
Right.
Blake's like bullshit, because Blake's like where he's like he doesn't
A little
forget.
jaded.
Yeah, you and Blake are, yeah, you get it. All right, so moving on to the special elections for Florida. Unfortunately, Josh Wheel lost, but he lost by 14 points, which is a much smaller margin than the 30 points that Trump won this district by in
Okay.
November. So that's maybe a
That's a
piece of,
little good, I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Same with the other special election in Florida. I forgot her first name. Her last name is Gay.
Gay. Oh,
Huh.
I no, her first name is Gay.
Oh, well,
I
whatever.
thought.
Miss Gay, whether it's your first or your last name, she lost as well, but she flipped a county to be blue.
Okay.
It was red and then it was blue because that's how things flip. Um, so that's good news as well. But what's really interesting about this is Josh Wheel raised more than $12 million in campaign donations
Really?
and fucking Randy ass fine
Can't stand him.
only raised 1 million. And that goes to show you this disparity, along with the polls that showed a contest within a small margin of error, which was wrong, um, says, really kind of made this a popular race, right? But it also goes to show you how red Florida is.
I
Like,
know.
it is so red. Like, probably the
So,
reddest state in the country, I would say.
right.
Like, it because of DeSantis, too. Like, a lot of people that I know want to move because they don't want to be associated with it.
I do. I
Yeah.
want to get the fuck out of here.
Pretty much everyone I know is like, yeah, I hate it. But I love it here. I love the weather.
Well, see, I don't even like the weather. I don't like the heat. So
Then
I'm so
get
done with
here.
Florida.
It's hard
Done.
to move. It's impossible to move, especially now.
My husband's talked about moving.
Yeah.
But this is where he wants to go to. Guess.
Um, don't tell me. Texas, Georgia,
Close.
Atlanta,
Arizona.
Arizona.
So I'm like, I'm
Oh,
complaining about politics and the heat, and
mm-mm.
you want to take me to Arizona.
No,
It's the
no,
same fucking thing. No,
no,
thank you.
no. Don't go there. That's like desert. That's like heat with
Yeah,
water. I could do.
right.
But yeah, so the special election was for the most part disappointing last night, in Florida anyway. Um, and we kind of talked about this in our group chat, but it's like how are not how aren't there more angry Republicans? Um, and I said this in our group chat. I think it boils down to two things. You have Republicans who are in like that lower socioeconomic status, right?
Right,
And they haven't been impacted enough because it's only been 72 days.
right,
And then you have Republicans in the high socioeconomic status group who are just greedy as fuck. And
right.
that's why they're going to keep voting red. And I think that this will impact the 2026 midterm elections. I think Republicans are going to take the data from this election and they are going to be on the defense because that's what they do. They're good at it. That's why the
Yeah,
Democratic Party is the minority right now. And we need to be ready in 2026. So because, people are starting to wake up, but not enough. Not enough.
right. Not enough. No.
So, but don't
It's
worry, Trump will keep fucking up the economy.
oh yeah. Yeah, he definitely will. It's I don't know. I feel like it comes down to they acknowledging that they voted wrong means there's something wrong with them and
Yes.
they don't want to do that. You know, they're
100%.
gonna double down instead.
Because they don't have the courage to admit that they were wrong.
Right.
I think I think moms are one of the best people, or like they're the best at admitting when they're wrong because when you're a mom, you get things wrong like all the time.
Right.
And you learn as you go. But the consequences to getting things wrong are like it directly impact your children, right? And so one of the most important lessons that I've learned as a mother is how important it is to admit when you're wrong to your children. Because one, not only does it strengthen your bond with them and they actually respect you more because of it, but it shows them that it's okay to admit that you're wrong. And
Right.
when you look at these Republicans, these MAGA Republicans, or even, Republicans, I'm definitely generalizing right now, but that's okay. They, probably grew up in a time where kids were always wrong and adults were never wrong.
Right.
And now that, obviously dictates who they are as a person, as an adult, and the decisions that they make. So,
Yeah. It's we'll see what happens because I don't have a lot of hope for Florida Republicans, specifically Floridians. You
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
I just
I think you made a really good point when you say that they can't admit that they're wrong, because then that would mean that they would become Democrats? Like Democrats
right.
are evil to them.
They'd become snowflakes and you know,
They will never, like their
you think
children,
that'll make them trans or something, you know?
right?
Like that's
Exactly. Their children can die of the measles and eggs can be $1,000 a case and they still won't like admit or come over to the Democratic side, which is why
right.
we need to just get rid of the Democratic Party and start a new party. And it should be called the Purple Party.
I think purple would be a good one. I don't know. Some people might find purple a little too girly.
Or
Yeah.
like literally the color for queer people.
Right. Yeah. You gotta go
Um,
with like black or something.
right, right. It's just, I mean, whatever it is, it
No,
just
because the racists will have a problem with that one.
it can be like beige, just beige. And
Palm
no,
colored.
that's racist too. It's just hard. Okay.
Yellow.
Yellow, like The Simpsons. It could
Yeah.
just be like Bart Simpson can be the what's it called? Like the donkey is to the
Can we do Lisa instead?
okay, Lisa, fine.
She's smart.
Yeah, that's true. But my point is like, if there was a different party that wasn't like branded with like liberal snowflakes, then maybe more Republicans would be willing to leave that party and join a different party.
Yeah, maybe. Kind of like the what is it, the green tea? No.
Green tea.
What are they called?
I think it's just green. See if there's green, there can be purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's the different parties that I know of. We can ask Blake, he knows. Libertarian is one, right, Blake? Green is another one. What's another one?
Okay.
What's the one that West Cornell West guy was a part of? Oh, I don't know. There's a ton of them out there.
But I
But
feel, and maybe I'm wrong in this, but the libertarians and the green still lean very Republican.
yeah, well, I don't know about the green. I don't think the green does. I think that
No?
the libertarians do for sure.
Okay.
But green does I don't think it does, but it'll never green is environment. So it
Oh, okay.
yeah. Yeah, so it
Maybe I
means
was confused, like mixing them both into one.
mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe. Yeah, but the point is like the two-party system right now is not doing us any favors and it needs to we there needs to be multiple parties for people to choose from. Can you hear the sync running right now or is Zoom not picking up
Mm-mm.
anything? No.
No.
Yeah, I think that the new update of Zoom is really good for sound, so we don't need to worry about that. But let's talk about the third and final thing before we end this episode, which is the Supreme Court victory in Wisconsin.
That was a good one.
Yeah, especially considering Elon Musk's just blatantly illegal bribe,
Right.
which he did in 2024 and somehow got away with. Uh, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. What do you know about that?
Okay, so I know that he's got a court case in Wisconsin, something to
Yeah.
do with Tesla, I think, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it benefited him to have the other judge, the one he was financing, win.
Yeah, the conservative one, right?
Right.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court is also, like you said, is expected to rule on some prominent issues, including abortion rights, congressional redistricting, and voting rules, which will affect the 2026 midterms and the 2028 election. And
Oh, okay.
apparently also Elon Musk's whatever is going on with him,
Right.
because I can't fucking keep up with his lawsuits. Uh, but let's see, he gave $1 million bribes to basically because he posted a tweet or whatever on X and then deleted it and did a new one because the first one was like blatantly illegal and then the second one was only a little bit of illegal depending on who you ask basically.
Right.
So it's basically the difference is a petition. So if you sign a petition in opposition to activist judges, you are eligible to receive a $1 million check, um, and to be a spokesman for the petition. I don't know. So I think like something about the petition makes it less illegal, but to me it seems very illegal.
Right. And then he just gave away $1 million or several checks for $1 million at some event that if people showed up, they could have $1 million. And it looks
Really?
like it was shady too, because the person that won was like some guy connected to like a big organization. So it wasn't like a random person that just showed up. So it
Right.
seemed rigged already.
So I actually have this information from my research is there was a man named Scott or is a man named Scott Ainsworth who was awarded $1 million by Musk. But he was the spokesperson for signing the petition in opposition to activist judges. And he actually is known for donating to Republicans and making social media posts supporting President Donald Trump and his agenda. So,
Mm,
I mean, that makes sense that,
yeah.
he would get that. But it still doesn't change that it's illegal. Um,
But they
so
keep getting away with it. That's my biggest issue. Like suddenly now we don't have to listen to judges, right? A judge
yeah,
would say something, you'd be just like, fuck you. We don't have to do what you say.
that's another thing Cory Booker said is like I think he said like you need to be tearing down because there's like apparently like posters that are like anti-activist judges and that like they've been put it kind of reminds me of like Harry Potter and like Professor
Oh,
Umbridge
like
and
the
like
wanted. poster.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Booker did mention something about that. And but yeah, it's like what are Democrats really like so powerless against protecting these judges? Like we've never seen this in history where a judge has said, "Hey, you can't do that." And then they're like, "Well, watch me." And
Right.
then nothing happens.
And nothing happens. And
What the
that
fuck?
it's kind of like, you know what it reminds me of? Thinking like on mom terms. When you have a child, when you see a child at the park that literally is allowed to do whatever they want, and the parent just sits there and
Hmm.
doesn't say shit.
Yes.
Because I'm sorry, I do judge you for that. If
Yes.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching your kid literally tear something off a wall that they
Hmm.
shouldn't be tearing off a wall,
Hmm.
and you're just like, oh, little Johnny can do whatever he
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah. Kids are
I'm
gonna be
like,
kids.
what the fuck is wrong with you? Go parent your kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is kind of, and those kids grow up to do horrible
Hmm.
things because they
Yeah.
never get told no.
Hmm.
And I feel like that is Trump right now. He never gets told no. And when he
Yep.
does, he throws a hissy fit and still gets his way. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know, someone needs to parent him really bad. He
No.
needs a spanking. And
Put them in
I know
timeout.
we're not saying I'm pro spanking, but he needs one, damn it.
I know. Yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen. Uh I don't understand it. I think a lot of people don't understand it. Cory Booker is one of them. But I will say this about what happened in 2024. Philadelphia's district attorney sued in an attempt to stop the payments under Pennsylvania law, but a judge said prosecutors failed to show that the effort was an illegal lottery and allowed it to continue through election day. So this was actually an example of a judge saying, "Oh no, no, it might be illegal, but you failed to prove it." So
Mm,
that's how it connects to how Musk has done this in the past. Maybe they'll do a better job at proving that it's bribery with this Wisconsin court case, and maybe we'll get somewhere with that. But
right.
going to what we're saying, if the judge says, no, 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 that was naughty, you need to go to timeout, he's not going to go to timeout.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen then?
I will say though, people need to continue to boycott the way they have been because
Yes.
Elon is losing money. And we
Yes.
want that to continue because
Yes.
him sitting there crying about it, and how people are being mean to him after he
You know,
said, that's empathy is a weakness and now he
right,
wants empathy. Like,
right.
you make no sense, sir.
I love reading what his oldest daughter has to say about him. Like,
Yes.
go her. Like, I forgot her name, but she's awesome.
Yeah. I saw that she was just on a cover of, I think, Vogue, was it?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
she talked about her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was another article or something, but she talked about like how he's such a pathetic, like he doesn't like to lose. He's really bad at gaming.
Mm.
And so he's so pathetic that he has like people gaming on his behalf. So it looks like he's a good gamer.
Yeah, talk about like the 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 way his brain works is like similar to like serial killers. Like again, not saying he's a serial killer, but like the way there's a lot of strong evidence out there that points to like how the brain changes in certain environments, right? And so when you grow up, it's called like affluenza, as in an affluent environment and you get
Mhm.
everything that you want and no one ever tells you no, that changes your brain chemistry and you turn into something like a monster, which is what we're seeing in him and in Donald Trump.
So on that note, I just read a book and this was just like a tidbit that was in the book, had nothing to do with like the plot. But they mentioned that psychopaths, right, aren't always killers. They're not always serial
Right.
killers, or sometimes they're CEOs, you know?
Sometimes presidents of the
They're not
United States.
always bad, but they're
Right.
still psychopaths.
Uh-huh.
And it made
That's a
me
good
think
point.
of, this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It changes the brain chemistry.
They for sure have daddy issues.
Or mom
'Cause I know
issue.
Trump does. And then my understanding is Elon's dad was really horrible to him too.
That's the other thing. And this is not a laughing matter. It's just,
No,
but it is like child abuse.
right.
Definitely obviously shapes, who you are who you become as an adult.
You know what I do more than anything? Have you seen those videos of where they show a dog, like a plush animal, and they
Hmm.
show the plush animal like doing the bad behavior? And then they beat the crap out of the plush animal, and then the dog is like, "Okay, I'm gonna behave."
That's a good
That is
idea.
kind of more my parenting style. Like I do a lot of threatening. Like I'm gonna do this and this and that. I'm never gonna do any of it. But I want them to think that I, which
That's
is
so funny. Oh,
probably
oh,
therapy. It's all right.
the shit out of my kids. I'm surprised that they still believe me because
Right.
like I'm always like I'm gonna count to three and I never get to three and I'm like I wouldn't do shit if I got to three. You know
Right.
what I would do when I got to three? I would pour a glass of wine. Like
Right.
I
Go cry in your room because like they made me get to three.
yeah. One day counting to three isn't gonna work. But
Right.
oh anyway. Okay, back to the Wisconsin case. So we were talking this all stemmed from us talking about how Elon Musk needs a fucking spanking because
Yes.
this is illegal and like some like lawyers, even Democratic lawyers, are calling it a gray area. Let's see. Bryna Goddard, staff attorney with the State Democracy Research Initiative at the University of Wisconsin Law School. In other words, she knows her shit, said
Right.
that Musk changing the terms of his offer when he deleted his X post and made a new X post puts the payments and attendance at the rally back into a quote gray area in under Wisconsin law. So that's like an actual Democrat who knows what she's talking about who says
Right.
that. But then here's a
But
not
his first tweet shows his true intention.
exactly. And that's what this other guy says. Let's be very clear. Elon Musk committed a crime the moment he offered $1 million checks in appreciation for voting, and deleting evidence of that crime changes nothing. Under Wisconsin law, merely the offer of something of value, in this case, the chance to receive $1 million, is plainly illegal. And that was a quote by uh someone I did not write his name down, but I'll put it in the show notes. The article that I'm citing, I'll put that in the show notes. But yeah, maybe, and this is still a lawsuit in Wisconsin, maybe we'll see something come of it. Hopefully we'll see something come of it. We just have to wait and see. um but it reminds me of when I ran for school board. Did I ever tell you this story? This was not my idea, but I went along with it. So it was like during early voting,
Okay.
and someone who was helping me with the campaign, I don't remember who it was, but they're like, you know what you should do? You should, to encourage voting, you should offer like lunch with you to anyone who posts a picture of their I voted sticker. And then you randomly like pick someone in the comments, like comment on this post with a picture
Right.
of I voted sticker, and then you randomly pick someone, and then you go out to lunch with them and
Okay.
talk about whatever. And so I was
Yeah,
like,
like win a date with you, basically.
yeah, yes, that's exactly what, because yeah, they were like, I would go on a date with you. I'm like, okay, I guess, sure, let's do it.
You were pimping yourself out.
I guess so. I did. And truthfully, in the moment, it felt weird. And I wanted to say no. Not because I thought it was illegal, but because I was like,
Right.
weird,
Someone
you
might
know?
think they have a chance at something
Yeah.
else.
Well,
Right.
yeah, like who, and also like that sounds presumptuous, like that people even want to go out to lunch with me. I don't know. So, but I did it anyway because I was like, sure, whatever. And so the all the like the Moms for Liberty crowd like freaked out, and they were like, this is illegal, this is election bribery, blah blah blah. And so they called the supervisor of elections, who then called me personally. The supervisor of elections personally called me, which she never does. Usually she has one
Right.
of her people do it, right? And she was like, you got to take that post down immediately. And I was like, okay.
Oops.
And she was super, she's a nice lady, and she's super
Right.
reasonable. So she was like, you're not in trouble. I'm not reporting you to the blah blah blah. Because there's like, if I was in real trouble, she would have reported me,
Right.
and then it could have gone before some committee, and I could have been fined, and I could have been like barred from running for something. But they never, that it didn't come close to that. I think she was just trying to keep people from freaking out.
Right.
But if I can't fucking take someone out to lunch, then Elon Musk can't give you $1 million.
For voting, and not necessarily for you, but just for voting. I
I
mean,
just said,
obviously it's implied that they voted for you if they're commenting on your post, but
right,
that wasn't the requirement.
right. And so that is a true gray area right
Right.
there. Like you could argue that for sure. But $1 million checks,
Right.
I guess the petition aspect of it makes it a gray area, I guess. But if it's a gray area, it means that Wisconsin laws need to be rewritten.
Yeah.
So I think that's all I had to say about the matter. Other than the winner of this race is a woman named something Crawford, and she raised $32 million compared to Schimmel, the conservative, compared to his $41 million.
Okay.
So I always like looking at how much money the candidates raised and then like comparing to how they actually won.
Of
So
those
that
41, do we know how much Elon contributed?
no, I mean Musk himself gave the Wisconsin Republican Party $3 million this year.
Okay.
But that's 3 of 41, right? So I'm sure he's given more.
Right.
I just didn't like, I'm sure it was a lot. And the voter turnout for this race was huge. And probably because it was a Supreme Court race and instead of just like a Congress seat like we saw in Florida, that might have something to do with the turnout. Also, Wisconsin is truly a swing state, whereas Florida is just straight up red.
Right.
So those are kind of the differences there. But yeah, I think, okay, that's it for my notes. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Um, I mean, I don't want to drag it on, but did you see the thing that Jasmine Crockett is getting heat for?
No.
Okay, so she was at an event and she was at the podium and she called Abbott from Texas Hot Wheels.
Oh
Is
yeah.
what everyone calls them in Texas, is my understanding. Um,
Uh-huh.
so suddenly people are very offended by it. I hate Greg Abbott, so I don't care.
Because he's in a
I'm
wheelchair.
kind of at like I'm not. Would it be wrong to say that to somebody else? Yes. Is it wrong to say it to him? I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. Wait, tell
But yeah, there's my whole thing though with that is Republicans get really upset when
me.
we play the game the way they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And so if
Uh-huh.
you are okay with your side calling us all kinds of things, the
Hmm.
moment we serve it back to you,
Hmm.
suddenly you're like, oh,
Hmm.
what? And I'm just like, no, fuck you. Like,
Yeah,
I know
I
that a lot of Democrats are peacemakers
mm,
and turn the other cheek, the high
that
road.
doesn't work.
But I'm sorry, I'm me first and then a Democrat. And I am, if you can go low, I can go lower every single time. I will
But
meet you on the floor.
and that honestly needs to happen. And don't like listeners, I'm not you because I know you know, but like it's not the same as saying like, oh, we're gonna like throw Molotov cocktails and buildings and protests on the streets and whatever. Like that's not what you're saying.
No,
But we've seen the Democrats take the high road, right? And where are we?
right.
We're at the bottom.
Yeah, we have to meet you where you are, and I will
Mm.
meet you on the ground. Like I said, it's how low can you go?
Exactly. I agree. That Hot Wheels comment though make this scene from one of my favorite TV shows so much funnier. It's called The Righteous Gemstones and it's on Max, HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, you gotta watch it. It makes fun of like for-profit Southern churches, basic like mega churches. It is hilarious, okay? And there's a guy in the most recent episode, I'm talking like last like Sunday, he's in a wheelchair and the star calls him Hot Wheels. And it just makes it that much funnier because
See?
Hot Wheels is funny because like you're not saying, oh, you're an invalid or you're, an idiot or look at
Right,
you. You just Hot Wheels is just kind of a
right. It's
funny
not
thing.
even that big of a diss either, to be honest. Like,
No,
because
it's
Hot
not.
Wheels are cool, like
Right.
it's a fun toy.
Yeah. It's
So
like,
it's not an insult as far as insults go. It's not like the biggest dig ever, you
right.
know.
I
Again,
agree.
these are the same people who had no problem with Trump mocking a disabled journalist.
Mm. That,
So,
yeah. And that is
and
so,
actually making fun of them in a mocking way. And obviously, yes, the Hot Wheels comment was mocking in a
but it
sense,
wasn't egregious.
but it get right. It's it's not a diss. Like I said, there's
Yeah.
nothing.
It's
I don't
ridiculous.
know.
Yeah. It's
But
hypocritical.
now, if someone else in a wheelchair is offended by that, They are in their right to be offended. I will not take that away from them.
Yes.
But the other people over here who had no problem with what Trump did, you can shut the fuck up.
Yeah, you're right. I guess that's like, we should clarify, and that's what we mean, because you make a really good point by comparing it to Trump's just outright horrible impersonation of someone differently abled. So yeah, that comparison I agree with 100%.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Well,
sorry,
I guess
my kids are texting me. That's why I see.
No, yeah. Yep. Okay. This is that time of day where we got to pick up kids and run around and do things. But thanks for listening. If you can, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen or watch, that would help us out a lot. We're on YouTube now, so make sure you get over there and watch and like our videos. We put up some short ones and some long ones. This will be a long one for sure. And stay tuned for our next episode, in which I tell Jennifer all about the book Cast by Isabel Wilkerson.
Which I'm dying to hear about, because I hear a lot about this book, but I haven't read it. So I want the Cliff Notes from you.
I'm ready. I'm going to give you Courtney's Cliff Notes. So get excited. But in the meantime, don't ban books.
Ban bigots.
All right, you can press stop.
Where is it? Oh, I see. This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer Mendoza and Courtney Green.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to follow us at MILF for Books, that's MILF, the number 4, books, on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it.
And don't forget to help the show by rating us wherever you get your podcasts.